In my constituency of Blyth and Ashton, these failures have led to people missing medical appointments, financial issues and hindering the democratic participation. One of my constituents missed urgent medical correspondence, turning a routine appointment into a potentially life-threatening emergency. It's not acceptable. This is happening up and down the country in every single constituency in this place. Allegations from within Royal Mail suggest that these failures may be intentional, designed to pressure the government into weakening or removing the USO requirements. Royal Mail's recent letter to the Business and Trade Committee denies operating a parcels first policy, contradicting repeated internal testimonies. It flies in the face of local evidence from the workforce. The letter also reiterates calls for USO reform, reflecting a long-running corporate direction. Over the past few years, postal workers who were key public servants, who were heroes during COVID, have seen their terms and conditions eroded to the point that some can no longer buy additional holidays because doing so would take their pay below the minimum wage. The government need to take serious action against Royal Mail. It's an option, is it not, an option to possibly bring back Royal Mail under public control. Mr. Speaker, this is approaching the situation where one of our constituents will lose their homes, their health, or even their lives through these persistent failures.
I can testify to the fact that in West Worcestershire I have had an enormous amount of casework on this, starting just before Christmas, but it's been hospital appointments missed, it's been children's birthday cards not arriving, it's been condolence cards for recently widowed individuals, and it's been postal voting forms as well. So this is an absolutely critical issue. And I would reiterate that the universal service obligation is an obligation. It is an obligation set out in statute, and it is an obligation to every household in this country. And we can all testify to the fact that it has been systematically broken. And I think we can point to a turning point, which was when the new owner bought Royal Mail with this government's approval in, I think, April 2025, the transaction went through. The letter from Royal Mail that was received by the Business and Trade Committee yesterday revealed something like over 200 million letters have been delivered late this year. Public are paying more, but they are getting less. And the fines that he has listed really don't reflect the deterioration that we've seen recently.
It's not just the customers who are rightly angry, it's postal workers as well, because they take pride in their job, they take pride in the service that they give. Last time I was in Corby delivery office, 6 deliveries never went out that day. The time before that, a postal worker volunteered to cover his own delivery on his day off, was told he couldn't. When he went back in the day after, the work was still there, the delivery hadn't gone out. We've now got a 2-tier workforce leading to a recruitment and retention crisis, and it's a standing joke in the job that if the quickest way to get a letter delivered is to put it inside of a parcel. Would the Minister agree with me that instead of imposing top-down changes by people who have never done the job before, they should now listen to their workforce, sit down with the union and sort this mess out?
Mr. Speaker, in each year since 2023, Royal Mail has been fined by Ofcom over delivery delays. It amounts to nearly £40 million. And following recent announcements, it wouldn't surprise me if they're fined again in 2026. When Royal Mail were reprimanded in 2023 and 2024, their leadership promised that reforms would be made to improve their services. But following the £21 million fine in October 2025, the company said it couldn't publish its improvement plan until negotiations with the Communication Workers Union concluded. The takeover of Royal Mail, which this government supported, seems to have done nothing to improve the service so far. Over the past several years, an average of roughly 1 in 4 first-class stamp letters arrives late. And now recent reports suggest that 219 million letters may arrive late this year. These letters are sometimes urgent and hold important information, so it is clear that Royal Mail are repeatedly failing to meet their universal service obligation, but despite this, their stamp prices have consistently risen. This includes next month's planned rise of 10p in the cost of first-class postage, taking the cost of a stamp to £1.80. The sorry saga of Royal Mail has gone on for far too long.
This started from privatisation. End of. But how can we get this back on track? And can the government look at nationalising this service so our residents can get the letters that they desperately need? This isn't the fault of the workers. We know that they are working day in, day out to get these letters out, but we know they are being told to prioritise parcels. I tried to go into my mail centre just before Christmas, as many do. Mr. Speaker, I know you do the same. But I was denied. An excuse was given and it's never been rearranged. Workers in there came to me and said they are trying to hide how bad it is in that mail centre from you as the local MP. So will the Minister outline to the House and to my constituents how we can turn this around? And I fundamentally disagree with the honourable member saying that this started with these new owners. This started from privatisation. End of.
I'd like to put on my record my thanks to all the posties. I think the whole House would like to thank all the work that they do in all of our constituencies. And this has had a huge social and economic impact on individuals throughout our constituencies. But what concerns me, to be fair, is the Minister has referred to can't intervene on a private company and is, of course, an independent regulator. So what can the Minister do? And if there's nothing he can do, perhaps he'll be coming back in a few weeks' time to repeat there's nothing he can do. But how does that help people that are waiting for medical results and other important information?
My understanding is that letters must not be treated less favourably than parcels, but that absolutely is the case at the moment with internal Royal Mail targets, and that is the case at my Fotherby Street sorting office in Grimsby. The tracked at first policy is in place that means that parcels do take priority. Letters and non-tracked mail is then not prioritised. So first and second class cards, letters, etc. They are left sitting in frames for days and weeks. That builds up, as we've heard from other members today. There is also an issue about route revisions becoming issues for our posties, some of whom are regularly walking 30 to 40,000 steps a day. That is causing exhaustion, injury and illness. Now, my question is, it is not acceptable in any way for the government to say it cannot do anything. What is the government going to do?
An experience that too many constituents are suffering from. Now, I started, when this first happened, corresponding with Royal Mail and asking why this was happening, and got polite replies, but frankly, at this stage, Minister, fine words, butter no parsnips. We really need to see some action. So can I urge the Minister to push Ofcom to take action on this issue?
In rural parts of the country like North Shropshire, where broadband, mobile signal and public transport is very poor, people are really dependent on their postal service. Where I live, people have contacted me to say that they have missed court documents, NHS letters, really important things for them to be able to get on with their lives. I visited the sorting office, as well as the prioritisation of parcels, which I've been told about by posties. The rounds are too long. The conditions that the postal workers work under are not good enough, and so there's a real recruitment and retention issue. I
ran a survey online regarding services by Royal Mail in my constituency, and 89% of respondents said that they were unhappy, angry or disappointed by the service in Stockport. One of the examples was that mail wasn't delivered for almost 2 weeks, and then all of it was delivered on the same day, meaning that important appointments and information was missed. Can I please press the Minister, Mr. Speaker, in terms of what is he specifically going to do to improve services in Stockport and Greater Manchester, which is approximately 3 million people?
In my constituency of Croydon East, we've had a massive uptick in complaints around letters being delivered late, but things like people paying for priority services and that not happening, but also constituents being advised to collect post from delivery offices without prior notification of an attempted delivery, so essentially becoming their own Royal Mail. Now, having having met with workers locally over Christmas, I know that they are working incredibly hard to keep on top of this and are just as frustrated as my residents. And when we raised, my biggest kind of concern is when we as members have raised this with Royal Mail, their response to us has been quite frankly rude and dismissive and a bit lacklustre.
The blame for failures doesn't lie with postal workers, as has been established well today, who are doing all they can to deliver a service, but it lies with the private company that is telling their staff to prioritise parcels and then pretending that that's not their policy. Constituents in my area of Chichester have received hospital appointments 4 days after the appointment was due to take place. One constituent in Selsey received their letter for a specialist appointment in London an hour before that appointment was due to take place.
The Communications Workers Union reporting chaos and demoralisation amongst its members as a result of the imposition and poorer paying conditions for posties and the company's decision to prioritise potential job cuts over service when it comes to USO reform. Can the Minister outline what the Government is doing to ensure the Royal Mail customers and workers are not made to pay the price of the mismanagement of our postal services, including utilising any powers allocated to the Golden Share?
Many of my constituents across Chester South and Eddisbury have been in touch about the poor levels of mail service. One constituent in Kelsall actually reached out to Royal Mail themselves after experiencing deliveries once per week at best, only to receive a reply from Royal Mail stating that service levels in our area are good. Yet that same constituent later received a hospital appointment letter after the hospital appointment itself, which is certainly not good.
Whether it's the failure of Royal Mail to meet its USO or the skyrocketing price of heating oil, it seems that rural communities such as my Argyll, Butte and South Lochaber constituency are most impacted. We're all agreed that despite the often heroic efforts by the workforce, the service provided by Royal Mail management is totally unacceptable. The Minister knows we are 60 days from a Scottish parliamentary election in which 1 million people will vote by post. How confident is he that Royal Mail will be able to cope, and what measures is he putting in place to ensure that they do?
Darlington's postal workers, who are in fact the best in the country, and they deliver their service to the best of their abilities. But they also provide a social service, reaching residents where they're often only the only visit that resident gets. I want to draw the Minister's attention to 2 cases that have been brought to me from constituents, which have been quite shocking. One is, despite using the tracking system, application forms for constituents to join the Royal Navy have gone awry, and that's obviously causing huge delays. And the second one is that one of my constituents successfully gained compensation from Royal Mail for a late delivery, but the cheque, which was sent in the post, bounced. So I'd like the Minister to allay some of the fears that we've got around the crucial public services and the communication via post going out from our departments and arm's length bodies. Thank you.
Speaking with postal workers from across Alloa and Grangemouth, I know morale is rock bottom because years of savage cuts and restructuring that has negatively impacted their ability to do their job. Does the Government accept that the erosion of both the service and workforce morale is due to privatisation, and an essential public service like Royal Mail should be under public ownership for the public good? And if I may, Mr Speaker, when will the Government effectively hold bodies like Ofcom to account, because their inaction and impotence is costing our constituents dearly?
In one area of Sturminster Marshall, they received 2 deliveries across the whole of January, and then the Royal Mail tried to blame the flooding that happened at the beginning of February for why their letters weren't delivered. So I don't trust anything they're saying, but I'm concerned about my posties literally brought to tears on the doorstep, being told they can't have any overtime when they're advertising posts and they can't complete their rounds. They have explained to me that they are being expected to manage their decline. So what is the Minister doing to stand up for these frontline workers who are key to our communities?
But will the Minister confirm that if the owners continue to fail to discharge their obligations as a matter of urgency, the option of taking Royal Mail back into public ownership will be fully considered because it's popular with the public?
Before I became a Member of Parliament, I worked for the Communication Workers Union at the time of Royal Mail privatisation, and I am sad to say that much of what we feared would happen has come true. Now, residents in my constituency in Grain reported receiving no first or second class mail for weeks, like other members have reported, but the incident I'd like to highlight is one where Network Rail had to hand-deliver letters to residents to ensure that they were aware of the impending closure of a critical rail crossing because Royal Mail service could not be relied upon.
I met a resident in my surgery at the weekend with a long-term health condition who's being sent testing packs by the NHS, arriving late, appointment letters being delayed. This is having a huge impact on her health. When the Minister meets Ofcom later, will he raise these very serious impacts, not just on our residents, but on our National Health Service, of the unacceptable delays in Royal Mail?
Gloucester residents have been let down by Royal Mail for years. They're prioritising parcels over post and profits over our posties. I've got a visit to Gloucester North Delivery Office on Friday, and I was shocked to find out from the front lines that they're offering overtime to clear the backlog before I get in there to visit them. Ofcom have proven to be utterly toothless in this. They are not regulating properly, and Royal Mail are baking those fines into their business plan. So what more can we do to give Ofcom the bite that they need to improve service for Gloucester residents?
People across Lichfield, Birkwood and the villages are sick of being lied to by Royal Mail. I met Royal Mail just before Christmas to complain to them about the total lack of a postal service that we had in Lichfield. We were probably the worst area in the country at that point. I was told when I had that meeting that all of the first-class mail went out last week. That is a lie. It is an absolute lie because my constituents told me. Now, Royal Mail clearly don't have a handle on this. They are either not measuring their performance or they are covering up their performance. So I would ask the Minister to use that golden share that we have to force Royal Mail to be honest, fess up and fix it.